It's 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christman, and we're talking today about making selling real estate easy. Yes, it can be done, so stick with us. We've got a great show for you today. I'm John Christman. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Carissimo. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your real estate career, make sure you give us a call. We've got a lot of courses and tools to help you do just that. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way that they can. And this show that we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, this is one of the ways that we help our students not just learn the information they need to pass their real estate exam and get their real estate career started, but really take their real estate career to the next level. And the topic it is that we're talking about today, making selling real estate easy, is something that's really, yeah, you could go through your real estate career with it hard all the time, but what we're here to do is trying to demystify that process, breaking it down, overall making it easy. Now, if we're talking to a general consumer, somebody that's looking to buy a house for themselves or sell their own home, and first off, if they're looking to buy a home themselves, there's no reason they shouldn't be represented by a real estate professional. Your services are already pre-negotiated to be paid for by the seller, so there's no reason, and even with a for sale by owner, there's rarely a for sale by owner that won't compensate a buyer's brokerage for assisting in the sale. So that's already pre-negotiated for the buyer, where the buyer gets this service absolutely free of charge. And that's such a big misconception that you see with a lot of people, not even just first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers, that's a big deal when they think about this. They say, oh, I don't want to have to pay for a realtor. You know, this realtor looks expensive. We could just buy the house ourselves. We'll just contact the listing agent. No, when they're contacting the listing agent, they're really just setting themselves up to be an inferior type of position. So that representation on the buyer side, it's a no-brainer. But listen, the public doesn't know that. The public doesn't know that your services are already going to be paid for. So we're going to talk about some things on the buyer side. And with the buyer side, it's a no-brainer that they should be using your services. But now there is a little bit of a process with this, working with a buyer effectively, to make it seem like it is on these house selling shows where it's, oh, you show 4 houses or 3 houses or 2 houses or even just 1 house and you've got a contract. That is absolutely possible, but you have to be very tactical about how it is that you're working with your buyer, so that way you can kind of lay it out that way. We're going to be covering that. Now, on the seller side, they're the one with the burden of not just paying for their commission for the brokerage representing them, but also paying for the buyer's commission in advance. So the seller's getting stuck with the whole bill. And when you think about it, it's really the buyer's money anyways that's buying the property, so it's like everyone's paying for it. But talking to a seller and saying, oh yeah, we're taking away this percentage of your net proceeds, we're taking away this percentage of your sale price, so you're only ending up making this much. People say, oh, you're going to charge me this many dollars for this, you're going to charge me this much percent for this here, why can't I just sell my house myself? And that's something that you do see quite often, but there's an article I read just the other day about for sale by owners versus selling with an agent, and it's ridiculous. In certain parts of the country, they called out a couple markets specifically in this article here. They were talking about Phoenix, Arizona. I think they did another one. It was like New Jersey, maybe New York, somewhere up in that area, and then also San Diego. So they picked a couple of markets, but every single one of them, and this has been something agents have known for a long time, and not just since, yes, it is a little bit easier to kind of market your home now as a homeowner with the internet, But it's easier to find that information, but now the marketing and what can be done and that potential that exists with a properly trained real estate professional marketing your property, it really, there's a huge distinction. I wish I had the graphs to show you guys here. Maybe we'll pull it up on the break and we'll put those up on the screen so you guys are going to be able to see that. But there's a huge differential between, it was a percentage of the market value, and on average, the agents were above the market value for just by a couple percent. They were up by 1 or 2%, whereas when they're selling a property for sale by owner, it was 15, 20, 25% below market value. And that's what happens when you try to take this on yourself. Yeah, you might save 6, 7% by not paying a real estate professional, but you're losing 10 to 25% of the value of your home. And that's astounding. And it might even be higher than that. You get a lot of these people that say they'll buy your house cash, don't have to pay a realtor, we'll close quick, we'll pay cash. Yeah, if you need to sell within like a week, then that's probably going to be your best option. But if you could wait longer than a week to sell your home, using a real estate professional is going to ultimately get you the most amount of money if it's being done correctly. Now today we're talking about making this process easy. Not so much on the consumer side, but you on the professional side. How do you make it easy working with clients? How do you make it easy, especially working with buyers, but at the same time, how do you make it easy working with sellers? And what are the things that you need to keep track of for that? So we've got a lot of great topics to talk about with that, but before we get into that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, so stick with us. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching State of Real Estate. Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Carissimo with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can.
Did you know that if post-licensing education isn't completed by your first renewal, your real estate license will become null and void? If your license becomes null and void, you must restart the licensing process all over again. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we make renewal requirements easy. Visit postflorida.com to learn more and enroll today. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have done for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. Every Friday at Eastern Time, I'm myself, John Carissimo, on behalf of the Tampa School of Real Estate. We come to you, to our previous students, to our future students, and just you guys all over the world that are tuning in, that are curious about real estate or how to take your real estate business to the next level. That's what we talk about every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. What are these things to kind of make your real estate business better? Now, before we went on break, we're kind of talking about how it should always be where a real estate professional is involved in the transaction. Today's topic we're covering about how to make selling real estate easy and really selling your services to a buyer or a seller. But before you could get into actually selling them, you have to be sold on yourself. So that's step one of making selling easier. Is number one, you have to be sold on yourself, on your services, on your offering. You have to see that there's value in it. If you feel like you're scamming people or cheating people because you're making this much money off of this and you don't feel like you're deserving it, then you don't deserve that money. If you don't think you deserve the money, then you don't deserve the money, and you're not going to feel right. And you're going to have that internal subconscious kind of pulling you back, holding you back on your clients. So the first step really is being sold on yourself and sold on your services and sold on your offering. And as a new agent, that could be kind of difficult sometimes to get sold on yourself, especially when you're brand new and you don't know too much of this going on. But look, let me give you a quick word quick tip, quick word of advice here. selling real estate is easy when you know what you're doing. It's and knowing what to do and what's going on. It overall, I mean, yeah, your first couple deals, they might be a little bit rough, but look, just team up or partner up with a more experienced agent or with your broker or somebody that can help you with these first couple deals and get them under your belt. But what you want to be careful with this is you want to be careful that this person that you're teaming up with, that's mentoring you, that's coaching you, that's training you, isn't somebody that's a mediocre agent themselves. And if they are, they still might be able to walk you through the transaction, help you get that done, but you got to be careful with what it is that they're doing. But ultimately, so again, just be sold on yourselves. Know the benefits of using a real estate professional selling a home, what that percentage is, that you could get as much as 25% more compared to if they're selling the property on their own for sale by owner. Which, you do some quick math on that, if you're charging 6% and you get them 25% more value, I mean, come on, doesn't that make sense? You explain that to your client, and now all of a sudden they're willing to pay that 6% commission because they know that you're the professional, that you know what it takes to help push that price higher, how to negotiate the higher price, and so on and so forth. So you definitely want to be sold on what value it is that you bring to the table. Now, on the buyer side, this should be the easiest sell in the world because you're not charging the buyer any money. The seller's already paying for your commission of whatever property is that they choose, whether it's a property in the MLS when you're guaranteed to get a certain percentage of commission that's put in the MLS, or if you're working with a for sale by owner, it's rare to find a for sale by owner. I've never found a for sale by owner that they probably won't pay on the selling side. They don't want anybody representing them, but they'll usually at least kick over 2, sometimes even 3% for somebody representing the buyer. And hey, worst case scenario that they find a for sale by owner property, there's not many of them, and even when they are out there, it's hard to find them. So even if they do want to buy one of those properties, I mean, at worst case scenario, you're still taking home 2% or whatever it is that for sale by owner is offering out for that. But the buyer's not paying any money for your services with this here. So there's no cost. So this should already be an easy sell. And most agents don't have a problem getting a buyer to say, hey, come work with me. Because they could say, hey, look, I don't charge anything. I'm paid by the seller. You just let me know whatever properties it is that you want to see. I'm going to negotiate on your behalf and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of agents, they don't even go through all that. They'll just end it at, hey, look, you don't have to pay for my services, so just call me when you want to see a house. And that's it. That's their introduction. That's the story. That's what it is that they're doing to find out about you. And they have no idea what that process looks like going forward. They have no idea to buy a home. That's why you're talking with them in the first place. That's why you're talking with these buyers, is because they don't know what they're doing buying a home, and they want your help with that process. Maybe they've bought a home before, but even if that home was purchased 2 years ago, which it probably wasn't, it's probably 5 to 7 years ago, maybe sometimes even more, long ago that they bought this home, so they probably forgot what it was like when they bought their home. They probably don't know the new laws and the new regulations and how the process looks in this day and age. So you want to be careful, and you want to make sure that you're not assuming information that they know. You always assume that they don't know the information, but you do want to do that in a way that comes across not like you're demeaning them or belittling them, but in a way that, okay, I'm going to educate you. So I'm an educator by my nature. Even in sales, I'm an educator. Whenever I'm selling somebody, I'm educating them on what's going on, what I could do, what about this product that I'm selling and this property that I'm selling, or whatever it may be. So the educational standpoint, that really makes you come across as a person of value. So my recommendation, and this will really kind of help ease your whole selling process going forward when you're working with a buyer, because that's one of the big complaints a lot of agents have about working with buyers is, oh, they can't make up their mind, or they don't know this, or they don't know that. Look, it's not their job to make up their mind. It's not their job to go out there and have you show them every property that it's out there. It's your job to be the professional. You're the professional, and what you have to do is lay the groundwork. You lay the groundwork of what this process looks like. And so what doesn't ever happen, I've been talking about this for years with new agents, and whenever it's a new agent, I say, hey, look, it's against the norm. When people call you up, when you get a buyer lead, a lot of times you're going to get these buyer leads, especially if you're marketing on these websites like Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com or Homes.com, or these websites where you get leads based off of people picking a certain house. And there's a lot of people that don't like those leads. I'm not a big fan of those leads because what happens is you get integrated in the process after they've already started the home search. You're getting integrated into their home search after they've already started and they've already been looking at properties, and they're just coming to you because you're the key to the door. You're what opens that door. And that's all that they see you as. And that's why, like I said, and these work for some people, and there is a way to undo this kind of whole process here of just being looked at as the key master, the person that opens the door. That's absolutely possible to undo that, but you don't want to go into these online advertising marketplaces and buy these ads and just basically let the buyer say, hey, look, I want to see this property this time. Can you open it up for me? And that's essentially what it is that they're looking for. And that's the only purpose it is that you're serving. So if that's the only purpose it is that they're serving, what kind of loyalty is it they're going to have to you? Zero. They're really not. They might like you and you might do a good job kind of creating a relationship and building rapport when you're out there actually showing them the house. But ultimately, when you're showing them the house that they found on Zillow, they just called you up and said, hey, I want to see this house, and you're letting them in there. They might like you, but they're like, this guy's just a glorified combination lock. He's just the one there with his little fancy phone key thing unlocking the lockbox. And that's all we need him for. We don't need him for anything else. It's just buying a home. It's like buying a TV at the electronics store or whatever that may be. Look, there's a reason why in the technology age that we live in today that homes aren't sold online. They're marketed online, but they're not sold online. They're sold through people because this is a very complex process, and you're doing yourself such a disservice if you don't have a shepherd, a qualified and knowledgeable shepherd, and that's you as the real estate professional, hurting your buyers through the weathers and the rough waters of the home buying process, because this is a complex process and there's a lot of things that can go wrong and there's a lot of time that can be wasted by you and this is going to sound like something that it almost is like a funny cliche, but really, as a realtor, you're a professional home searcher. You're a professional MLS searcher. You're a professional of looking for homes. And already with the capabilities you have with the MLS system, you've got a much more advanced system than any of these people out there are using to find their homes. So you're an advanced searcher. And now it goes beyond just that you have the controls and you have the ability to dial in what kind of property it is that you want. What your job is, and this will ultimately make this process so much easier. There's a National Association of Realtors statistic that says that on average it takes 8 hours of working time to close a seller versus 24 hours of time closing a buyer. Now again, that's the average. Now, there's a lot of average real estate agents out there. I hope you don't aspire to be an average agent, because an average agent isn't really saying much. You get just a little bit above average and you're still, it's nothing spectacular. So if you want to be a top agent, and not even, you don't even have to want to make all kinds of money in this. You might just want to make your job easier. And if you're able to make your job easier, you could kind of speed this process up so much and be able to be much more successful and become one of those top producers. But what you have to do essentially is start by laying the groundwork. You lay the groundwork. Okay, I'm going to be your real estate professional here. That my goal in this meeting today, because what you want to do, and this is why I don't like the Zillow and the Trulia or the Realtor.com leads, whatever these online leads are that are just basically feeding you these people after they already want to see a house. They're too far in the process. You could back them up and reverse them to the beginning of the process and say, hey, look, this is your orientation about buying a home, but you want to try to go through marketing methods that are going to get you in right at the beginning. So you're there to shepherd and guide them through the entire process before they even start kind of looking at homes. When you're able to do that, then it's automatically a smoother process going forward. So if you avoid those types of leads and whatnot, that's automatically going to help you be better. But even if you do get one of these leads, your first appointment, the first time you're meeting with these people, and it could be right before you go see a home, but the first thing you should be doing is sitting them down, whether that's at your office. It's probably best if it's at your office, unless you have a terrible office, a crappy office or something like that. Then maybe meet them at a Starbucks, or maybe it's not convenient to the location it is that they're looking at. Look, your office doesn't have to be in the neighborhood it is that you're working. Your Florida real estate license, now unless your broker's got some sort of restrictions on you, your office will basically allow you to work anywhere within the state of Florida. Your license allows you to do that. So unless your broker's got a restriction on that, You could work anywhere. There are some certain limitations with that, but you don't have to meet at your office, whether it's because you don't want to meet at your office, you don't have an actual office at your office, you don't want to sit them down at a cubicle, and you can't get the conference room space, or whatever that may be. You can meet them at a Starbucks, you can meet them wherever it may be. You can meet them at their home or at their apartment, wherever it is that they're living right now. You can meet them there and say, hey, look, let me meet, where can we meet beforehand so I could go over some couple things for you, and I'll need to have you guys sign some paperwork before we start looking at some houses. But don't worry, there's not any obligation with this stuff here. You guys don't pay me any money. Even if you end up buying a house, you guys don't owe me any money. It's going to be paid for by the seller anyways. So that already relieves the burden of this here. And now, so you're setting the tone for this meeting that you're going in there, and look, we're just going over the basics, what I'm going to do for you, the overview, what this home buying process is, so on and so forth. But when you sit down at that meeting, what you want to do is clarify your goal and intention up front. You want to say, hey, look, my goal through this meeting today is just to go over you guys the steps of this home buying process to make you comfortable with that, and also make you comfortable with me as your real estate professional to help make sure that I could best serve you in your home search process. How are they going to say no to that? And now if you notice what I said there, I'm saying these things and I'm implying these things that's basically saying, hey, look, I'm going to be your real estate professional. I'm going to go through and I'm going to help you through this whole process, but I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the girl. I'm going to be the person that you're coming to for this real estate process. You got to practice that, and it'll, when you say it confidently and in a way that basically shows that you're out there to serve their best interest and make this better for them. And you already had this agreement saying, hey, look, you're not the seller's already going to pay for my services, and so on and so forth. It's easy stuff. So you say, but you got to set the tone to begin with. You've got to completely destroy any mental inhibitions they have, because it's not just the fact that they think that they're going to have to pay for you. That's one of the big roadblocks that keeps a lot of agents from contacting a buyer's agent in the first place, is they think they have to pay for it. So you want to destroy that myth. You want to break down that barrier, break down that wall in their mind. The other things you want to kind of break down here is, look, I'm going to be the professional to help you every step of the process. Yes, you don't have to pay for my services. It's already paid for by the seller. No money coming out of your pocket. And on top of that, I'm there to help you out every step of the way. Me and my team of real estate professionals, the mortgage loan originators, the title companies, and all the people involved in the transaction, you want to bring them up, talk about them, talk about their role in that. And really, like I said, you're educating them on this process. So you educate them on what the process looks like. That's what you want to do first and foremost, so they know what to expect, and they know that you're there to help them every step of the process. So there should be no point where they're going to be calling any other realtors about this, because you should be the person they go to. And after going through this whole initial process, they should know whether or not they're comfortable with using your services or not. So you go through, outline this process. Then what you want to do is jump into pre-qualifying them on the type of property it is that they want. So first you want to go through, educate them on the process. Next you want to go ahead and pre-qualify them for the property it is that they're looking for. And now you want to go in depth with this. You don't want to just say, well, how many bedrooms are you looking for? How many bathrooms are you looking for? You want to get to know them. Get to know who they are, where they work, where they go to worship, what types of, and we're not trying to, like do any steering or anything like that. We're just trying to get to know who they are so we can match them up with the right type of property. You want to find out things like who's in the family. Okay, are their children? Do they have pets? What are their preferences on this? What are the things they like about their current living situation? What are the things that they don't like? What are the things that they're looking for in their new living situation? And you want to get like an in-depth list, and you're going to spend, you see how fast I'm rattling off these questions here, but you want to spend like 5-10 minutes going through and trying to pull out everything, every last little detail about it, so you could get a perfect idea of the exact kind of property it is that's going to be right for them. And a lot of these things, and this is going to be what ultimately takes that average of 24 hours down and brings that average number down, is that you're going to go through and figure out these details. What are their most important things that they're looking for? What are the things that are the least important but they'd still maybe like to get? And then you're able to go through and take that data, and now you could find 2 or 3 different houses that match their criteria, that's what they're looking for. And is it always going to be 2 or 3 houses? No, sometimes it's going to be more houses that you're going to have to show than that. But the better you're able to pre-qualify and understand what it is that they're looking for, the easier your job's going to be and the less houses you're going to have to show them. Because the last thing you want is going to be running all over town and showing them 20 different houses. That's not because they're indecisive. It's because you did a bad job of pre-qualifying them. And you could say, oh, well, they lied to me about saying that they wanted this. They really wanted this. No, they didn't lie to you. They probably just didn't know that they wanted that. And you didn't do a good enough job of extracting that information from them. So if you're deflecting out all of these excuses on the clients, if you're saying, oh, well, it's their fault because they said that they wanted this, but we really wanted this. They said they were okay with 4 bedrooms, but they really wanted 5 bedrooms. Yeah, you could say that that's their fault, but how is that going to help you? How is that going to make your job easier? It's not. The way to make your job easier is to go in there and go into this and say, are you going to be really happy with 4 bedrooms, or is the 5 going to be something that you would much prefer? And go through these different things, and ultimately you might end up with a property that's way up here when maybe their budget's down here. Or maybe you have no idea what their budget is, and that's where you go into our next step here. And even if they do have a budget that's already in mind, you're still moving into this next step of now talking about the pre-qualification process with this here. And with the pre-qualification, the way you could make sure that you're able to get a pre-qualification on this here, and for this question, now usually I'm not going to be a person that asks yes or no questions, just questions that can be shut down like that. That's what a yes or no question is. You could ask, have you done this? They say yes. That's it. We're not talking about that anymore. But you can strategically use those yes or no questions for questions you pretty much already know the answer to. So if you already know the answer that they haven't done a pre-qualification yet, which they might have done a pre-qualification, and that's where you'll be surprised, and you could start asking some additional questions. Oh, who did you have that done through? What was the amount it was that they approved you for? Do you have the letter for that? And that's where you get that information about the pre-qualification that you need. But most buyers are scared of doing a pre-qualification. They think that's the last thing they need to do before they actually buy a home. They have to find the home first and then do the pre-qualification. No. Though what they should do first is contact the lender. So you should ask, oh, you guys haven't contacted any lenders about anything yet, right? And they'll probably say no because they haven't done it, and most buyers haven't done that. And occasionally you'll get a yes, and that's where you pull out that additional information. You say, okay, well, we're going to definitely want to get that done ahead of time, get the pre-qualification done before we look at any houses, because with the market that we have right now, and whenever we're in a seller's market, this makes a lot more sense, but I'll show you how you could word it in case we're not in a seller's market for your particular area. Tampa, you could definitely use this wording all day. You might just have to alter it a little bit if you've got a lot more inventory on your market. It's like, hey, the market that we're in right now, if a property is priced right and it's in a desirable area, the property is not going to last. Sometimes getting the pre-qualification and getting the necessary paperwork in for that could take, if not all the paperwork's done ahead of time, a month, 2 months out of time. And if we wait that month to 2 months to get that pre-qualification, I guarantee you that property is going to be gone. So we don't want to be in that situation. Now, typically, the pre-qualifications are done a lot quicker. It's only if there's something outstanding that the lender needs to help you correct that it's going to take longer like that. So on average, they could usually get that pre-qualification the same day, but we want to get you guys talking to them ahead of time. So not only we could get that pre-qualification paperwork, but we could really see what our budget is for this property and make sure that everything's going to go through and go smoothly for it. So let me have this lender call you, or whatever that may be. Or maybe you're in your office and there's a lender in your office, a loan originator, and you bring them right over to them. But you want to get that pre-qualification done to find out whether or not you're wasting your time working with them. It's not necessarily a waste of time working with them, because probably someday, even if they don't get approved for that pre-qualification, maybe they're going to work on their credit or do some other things. And you still want to have a relationship with them, so when they are ready to buy, now you're there to kind of help them with that. But if you're out there showing them 20 homes and now they go to a lender to get a pre-approval and they find out that they don't have good enough credit to get a mortgage, you just wasted the 24, 25 hours. And that's a big part that drives up that average number of the time it takes to close a buyer. So you want to get that pre-qualification done on the lending side, on the mortgage side, as soon as possible as well, preferably before you show any homes, but maybe after you show one home, say, okay, before we look at any other ones, let's get that pre-approval done, so in case when you find one you like, we're ready to make an offer right there, because most sellers will require a pre-approval. Now, like I said, that works very well, and it makes a lot of sense when we're in a seller's market, when the properties are selling like that. Now, in a buyer's market where there's a lot of inventory and there's a lot of properties available, people might be a little bit more skeptical about that. It's like, oh, the homes aren't selling that fast. And what you could say is like, hey, look, you never know when an offer is going to come in on the property. And to get you guys the best price and the best deal on that home, we need to be ready when you find the home it is that you want, so we can make an offer right then and there. I'll put it in the contract so we have inspection periods and contingencies so you can get out of that, but we want that pre-approval done so we can get in there. Even though the home might have been sitting on the market for 90 days, it might be the 91st day that another buyer comes along that wants to buy the property. So you never know when somebody wants to make an offer on a property. And that is ultimately very true. And you don't want to leave that up for chance, and now all of a sudden you're in a bidding war because you didn't get the property under contract because you had to wait for the pre-qualification to come through. So this whole initial consultation, this appointment, this buyer appointment that you're doing ahead of time and laying the groundwork, the framework, and understanding what it is that they're looking for and making sure you have the pre-approval, that's going to make your job so much easier and really kind of condense down that time it takes to a lot less time instead of going through the average 24 hours. You don't want to be average in real estate. Average is nothing great. Even if you're just doing this part-time, you still don't want to be average. A good part-time agent could be way better than an average agent in real estate. So you can condense this time down a lot less than 24 hours. And really, if you are doing this part-time, you don't have 24 hours to spend showing people houses. You want to get that number down as much as possible so you can still juggle the other parts of your life that you're doing at that time. So it's definitely important to go through this initial consultation and pre-qualification. And like I said, even if they're contacting you off of some sort of property they want to see right then and there, hey, look, before I show you the property, I just want to have a quick 10-15 minute appointment with you guys at my office or here so I could go through and run through these different things that I'm going to do for you as your real estate professional and then what I'll expect out of you guys as well. And don't worry, it's not going to cost anything for my services. The sellers already have all pre-negotiated a commission for me to be paid to represent you guys. So basically, you guys are going to get represented for free, but I just want to make sure we go through these things so we can get you the best deal possible and ultimately make sure we find you the home, the exact home that you want and that you're looking for. You might get some pushback on things like this, especially if they already have a house that they want to see. They might just say, no, I just want to see that house. I understand that you guys want to see the house. I'm excited to see that house too. It looks like a great house. But look, we could do this right before we go and check out that house. I just want to run through these different things to make sure we've got everything all figured out and you guys are going to be ready to make an offer if you guys really do love that house. And in most cases, and you might have to go through a couple more of those kind of back and forths of overcoming these objections or complaints, whatever it is you want to call them. But ultimately, you're going to be able to get that initial appointment, even if it's you're meeting at the house. It's like, okay, before we start looking at this house here, before we go in, you probably want to go inside when we're here in Florida, but just going through these basic things there. Maybe you're doing that when you're at the property. The point is, right when you start working with these clients, you got to have this initial consultation, especially on the buyer side. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of time that you don't need to because there's just the groundwork wasn't laid. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking more about this. We're going to talk about the seller side a little bit, how to make this selling process ultimately easier. That's one of the big things there is having that initial consultation on the buyer side, but there's more tips I've got for you guys, so stick with us. I'm John Christmo. You're watching State of Real Estate. Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Christmo with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can.
Did you know that if post-licensing education isn't completed by your first renewal, your real estate license will become null and void? If your license becomes null and void, you must restart the licensing process all over again. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we make renewal requirements easy. Visit postflorida.com to learn more and enroll today. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have done for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. And what we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time is come to you live to help you better understand the real estate business so you can really take your business to the next level. Or if you're just getting started in real estate, you're able to kind of just hit the ground running as soon as you're licensed and get out there and go crush it and get a couple deals under your belt. But what we're talking about today is making the selling process easy, because that's a big thing that's a roadblock, a mental roadblock for a lot of agents is going through this process, and that's what leaves a lot of a bad taste in a lot of agents' mouths. They go through this first transaction and it was anything but easy, and it leaves a bad taste in their mouth, and now they're scared or they really don't want to, or whatever the case may be, that they're not looking to go and do these next couple of transactions. But look, it only gets easier. Your first transaction is going to be your most difficult transaction. The reason is you don't know. You don't know what those next steps are. You don't have a good idea of what the intricacies. You might understand the kind of overall sales process, but all these what if types of things, and especially if you're that type of person that these what ifs start popping in your head, and now they're just kind of all in there, and you've got this whole kind of what you're imagining in your head of what's going to go through when you show this property, that all these crazy things going to happen, and it's going to be the worst showing that could ever happen. And part of this is you have to kind of lower your expectations a little bit, that property you're going to show isn't going to be maybe the one it is that they're going to look for. But at the same time, if you've done a good pre-qualification of this here and you know that they're going to like the property, when you show them the property, what you want to do after every single showing now, and again, we're still dealing with the buyer side here, so you want to do that pre-qualification up front, but then when you spend time actually showing them a property, okay, what do you like about this property? What do you guys don't like about this property? Now, do you like it more than you don't like it? Do you like it enough to make an offer on the property? Could you see yourself living here? These types of questions to ultimately find out, hey, is this the one? Is this the diamond in the rough? Did we strike gold? Did lightning strike? Is this the property that is the one for you? And you got to ask these questions on this. Can you see yourself living here? Well, what do you think about this? And now ultimately, I mean, sometimes the more, and what happens? The more properties it is that they look at, the more they start looking for the perfect property that doesn't exist, or at least not existing in their price range. Or sometimes it doesn't matter what the price is and these properties don't exist. So you want to try to narrow this down, and you really shouldn't be showing more than 4 or 5 homes. Yeah, if you have to, if you still haven't found one that they want, that they're ready to commit to and put a contract on, yeah, keep showing them homes so you could get your job done and get them a home and get your commission and so on and so forth. But ultimately, if you're doing this right, you should be able to do it like they do on TV and show 3 or 4 homes. The real estate industry, there's a lot of agents out there that just operate on an average level, and they're okay showing 20, 25, 30 homes. But especially as a new agent, that's discouraging. If you're working in the real estate industry just part-time, that's very discouraging. What you could do to really avoid this is doing a proper pre-qualification of going through, finding out exactly what it is that they want, and really even finding out those things that they're not telling you that they want out of a property. And that's your job there initially. You're the counselor. You're the psychologist. You're the person that's there to really kind of take what it is that they think they know and what other things it is you could extract out of them, and now put that down and try to match that up with the perfect home for them. That's your job, is to find the perfect home. And what you could do, once you've kind of found these hot button types of things, because ultimately they probably are going to want to look at more than 3 or 4 properties, but you don't need to be looking at these 3 or 4 properties in person. And you talk about this in your process going through this here. We're going to set you guys up with MLS access. So you get access to the MLS just like I have access to the MLS. And what I'm going to do is pick out some particular searches for you guys here of properties that I think that are going to be perfect for you. We'll go through these. I'll show you a couple here. You tell me what it is that you like about them and what it is that you don't like, and I could further refine the search and ultimately come down to a property that I think is going to be right for you guys. And then you might have to show 2 or 3 different properties, but you should be able to find one that's perfect for them if you've been doing this process right. There's no reason you really shouldn't be going through and utilizing the internet right now of all these properties that are available, and also tell them, hey, look, any of the properties that you see out there, Zillow has a lot of inaccuracies with their data that's on there, but most of their properties, they are up to date where they are still currently available. So you see anything like that, send it over to me and I'll look into it. So you want to open it up for anything outside of what it is that you're sending them as well. So again, they know that you're the person it is that they need to go to with this here. But ultimately, kind of knowing what this process is and trying to lay the groundwork and get this all figured ahead of time, that's going to really help you narrow down that amount of time. But now let's talk about the selling side. Let's say you're trying to get a listing and you're going on listing appointments, trying to get a listing. You go to the seller's house and you're going through this listing appointment and so on and so forth. So how do we make this process easier? Now this process is already inherently easier than on the buyer side, or at least once you get the contract signed. On the buyer side, it's easier to get the buyers initially working with you, but now getting the buyers that house they're looking for, that's the time and where it's going to take the time and effort. On the seller side, it's usually the time and effort that's involved of initially getting that client, and then the stuff that you're doing after the fact with that. I mean, that's the really easy stuff for this year. So how do we make it now selling your services to a seller that wants to list their property or is considering listing their property for you? How do you make that process easy? So one of the things that I tell new agents all the time, and even experienced agents fall victim to this, is do not oversell. Do not oversell. And what that means is if they're ready to make a decision, let them make their decision. You don't have to keep going. You don't have to keep talking. You're gonna talk yourself out of a sale when when they're ready to make a decision. Sometimes you're able to go on these appointments and they're just ready to sign the paperwork. No, that's best case scenario, that they're like, okay, yeah, let's just, I've seen the marketing you sent, especially when you have a good presence in that neighborhood. Maybe you've been farming that area or sending them letters or emails or you've talked a few times on the phone. Maybe you do videos and they've seen some of the videos it is that you have, or whatever it may be that they feel comfortable and familiar with you. Look, you don't need to oversell. So what you want to do, again, when you're going into any of these appointments, you want to set that intention at the beginning. When you're going into this appointment from the get-go, you want to say, hey, look, my goal today is to kind of go over what it is that I'm going to go do for you guys to help you get your home sold and help you get it sold at the top dollar, and ultimately have you guys put me to work for you today. Does that sound good? They're probably going to say yes. Or they could say, oh, you know what, yeah, I don't know if we're ready for it yet. No, that's perfectly understandable. I know this is a big decision. You're going to want some time to think about that. But look, when we go through all this stuff here, I'll show you guys all the different options it is that we do have. And if you guys still aren't ready for that here, I still might even be able to factor in a little bit of time for it. And you could kind of work with these different things based on these initial objections it is that you're getting off of that there. But most of the time they say, okay, yeah, let's hear what it is that you have to say. They're usually not going to give you that ultimate big objection right then and there. So to make sure you're not overselling here, you could say, all right, well, are you guys ready to get to, if they sound, and you could use that initial kind of soft close. That's essentially what you're doing. You're leading into this appointment with a soft close. So, and with this, you could gauge their reaction to see if they're ready for the hard close, to see if they're ready to actually put pen to paper or finger to phone or tablet or however it is that you're doing your contract. So you could ask that you always want to ask that initial question. Hey, my goal today is to show you what it is that I'm going to do for you guys here and ultimately get you to put me to work for you today so we get the best price selling your home. Sound good? Sound fair? They say, oh yeah, we're ready to go. Okay, perfect. Here, well, let's just get right down to the contract. And you just pull out the contract and you start going through the stuff that's in there, or however it is that you're going to work through this stuff here. Because yeah, you do have to establish the price and maybe talk about what it is they're going to do. That's really kind of best case scenario. But sometimes you will have those scenarios. Don't expect that to always be the norm where they're like, okay, where's the paperwork? Let's sign. You'll get that occasionally where they're excited to work with you, they're excited to sell their house and so on and so forth, but it's not always quite that easy. So most likely they'll be like, okay, yeah, well, let's hear what you have to say. Okay, so you start going through, you talk about first and foremost, who you are. Well, I mean, how long just a little bit of the basics, just so they know that you're a professional. You're not don't spend a half hour talking about all the things it is that you've done. Just have a couple key points to say, hey, look, I'm the professional in this area. I've been working this area for X amount of time. Now, if you are new to the real estate industry, you don't want to use that line because that's not going to build credibility in you. You want to say something more so along the line of, let's say you lived in this area, and you could absolutely use that. Just like, hey, look, I'm a Tampa native. I lived in Tampa my whole life. Nobody knows the Tampa Bay area better than me. Whatever your key selling points out of that, again, you got to be sold on yourself first and foremost. So if you're not sold on yourself yet, get out a pen and paper, start writing down the things that make you appealing to clients, and writing that things down, the things it is that you're good at and you do. And you have to do some soul searching for this some of the times for figuring this stuff out, but you want to do that and get that down because you got to be sold on yourself. And that's what you go in there first, showing that you're confident, that you're this, and that, and so on and so forth. And now what you want to do periodically while you're going through your presentation, and this is something that you have to practice it. You have to practice this before you're going to actually implement that. But as you're going through your presentation, have you guys seen enough to make a decision yet? And they might say, yes, I think I have. Or no, I'm not sure yet. Okay, well, what else is it that you're concerned with or something like that? And now here's what you could do at the beginning of your presentation, at the beginning of your appointment, to make sure that you're not overselling. You could ask them the question, okay, what are the most important things for you in the sale of your property? And you just leave it open-ended like that. Don't ask, oh, is the sale price important? Is the commission important? Of course they're going to say, yes, that's important. You got to leave it open-ended and say, what in the sale process is important to you? So you ask them those questions. Okay, what in the sale process is important to you? Okay, they want the price. Okay, yeah, well, okay, great. Yeah, the price is very important. I've actually done a thorough study of the market in the area called comparative market analysis, and I've got some stuff I want to show you in there so we can make sure we price the property at the price to get it sold in the best amount of time possible and at the best price possible. So we're going to cover that. And they say, oh, I'm also concerned with, and they might not say your commission specifically. They might specifically say, I'm concerned with the commission. And here's what you want to nip that in the bud right away. And what you say if they say anything about the commission is that you're charging, oh, look, I understand that you guys want to pay a fair price for the sale of your home. But if I'm able to get a better return on your investment that over exceeds any additional commission, is that okay with you? Of course it's okay with them. If they're making money, who cares what it is that they're paying you if they're able to make more money on top of that? So, and if they mention commission, that's definitely something you want to have in your back pocket. Hey, look, if I can get you guys a good return on your investment, are you okay with paying the extra commission if you're getting a better return on your investment? If you're able to make up that extra cost of the commission, are you willing to pay more for that? And they'll say, yeah, if I'm getting more money, then yeah, that's okay if you're getting more money too, as long as I'm still getting more money in the end. So one of the ways I definitely recommend going through and presenting this, and this isn't even really a secret sauce thing, but again, compared to the average agent, a lot of agents don't use this, is you want to get some sort of net sheet prepared. The net sheet will basically break down and show, okay, if we sell the property for this price, and there's a lot of calculators available from title companies, try to use one from a title company that you plan on using, because then the estimates will be closer to what that title company is actually going to charge for this year, because it is always still an estimate for that here. But don't use one from some title company when you're really going to use a different title company, because they might say, well, why'd you use that calculator? That's not our calculator. That's not how much it costs. So get one of those net sheets printed out on there based off of the price of the property, and maybe you want to have a couple of them printed up. Say, okay, on this price it'd be this much, this price would be this much, this price would be that much. And I would even if you want to go in there with just one of these, that's what I would probably recommend to make sure, especially if they do want to sell the property quickly, just having that one net sheet broken down there. So when they ask about how much commission it is that you're going to charge, because they're going to ask you that probably fairly early in the conversation here. I'm going to go over that in just a minute here. I've actually gotten some net sheets that's going to break down what your total, and not only how much it is that I charge, but also the other expenses you guys are going to have when selling your property, and ultimately how much you're going to be able to walk away with when you sell the home. So you talk about that and they're like, oh, okay. And now after, you don't want to basically bring in there's two ways you go about this, and that depends on your preference really. You can bring up the amount of commission it is that you're charging early, or you could bring it up just at the end. It kind of depends on this, and really could go either way. I mean, preferably with me, I like to kind of get it out of the way, talk about it ahead of time. Look, you know, I charge this much percentage for this package it is that we're going to be covering today. Or you could also do something like, hey, I normally charge this much, but for you guys here, I'm able to cut you a deal for I'm going to do this much percent of commission and blah, 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 blah. If you do talk about the price up front like that, that's where I would say right off the bat, you know, just kind of discount it down immediately. So you've already kind of taken out that whole sport of negotiation thing, because some people are going to just negotiate with you for the sake of negotiating because they feel like they need to negotiate. And we call that negotiating sport, the sport negotiating, where they're basically kind of, you know, just trying to tear you down on the price just because they feel like that's what they need to do. But they really, that doesn't come down to them. So what you want to do is, like I said, have that net sheet prepared where it's going to give them the breakdown, because ultimately they're not paying that money out of their pocket for your commission, unless this is where they're selling the property for like the price of what the loan balance is. Then maybe they're paying the money out of pocket. But you know, if they've got equity in their property and they're walking away with cash, that's the number you need to be selling. How much money it is that they're walking away with, not how much money it is that they're going to have to pay, because they're not paying that money. It's just taking out of what they're walking away with. So that's the number you need to sell. Hey, look, this is how much you'd be able to walk away with here with all this. Is that okay for you? And a lot of times, especially if they have a lot of equity in the property, they'll see that number like, wow, I get to walk away with that? Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh. But don't I have to pay taxes on that? Not if this is your principal residence. So that's also where you want to know these tax laws and things like that you learn about in the pre-licensing course. But now notice how I'm talking about all these things. And hopefully you guys, you know, are maybe taking down some notes on this, writing this stuff down, and automatically you're starting to feel a little bit more confident about going through this listing appointment or working with a buyer. And that's because you know what to expect. When you know what to expect, all of a sudden things become a lot easier. The first time you do pretty much anything, it's probably going to be harder than the second time that you do it or the third time that you do it. And it's because in those repeated attempts, you start to get an understanding of, okay, this is what it looks like. And there's a lot of ways you can kind of get this practice under your belt beforehand. You could go out on an appointment with an experienced agent, or maybe even just doing some role playing in your office through this stuff here. I guarantee you're probably still going to be nervous no matter how prepared it is that you think you are when you actually go through and do one of these on your own. So you just got to rip that Band-Aid off as quick as you can. As soon as you're ready, as soon as you feel prepared, and you're never going to be 100% prepared, get in there and start making these presentations. And they're only going to be easier as time goes on for that. But I think that pretty much sums up everything it is about making the sales process easier, really. I mean, this all boils down to knowing what it is that you're doing, and knowing what it is and being confident in that, and not overselling yourself either, because like I said, the more you start to oversell yourself and overtalk yourself, you're going to sell yourself right out of the deal. You might bring up things that they didn't think about that now all of a sudden they're thinking about because you brought them up. And it shouldn't even be things that they're thinking about. So you don't want to oversell. Now, there's going to be times where you need to sell, and you need to be confident and assured in that. So when they're asking, okay, well, what are you going to do for selling the property? Or when they ask you, because they might not ask you what you're going to do to help get the property sold. They might just ask you, well, why is your commission that much? Well, let me explain to you why my commission is the rate that it is here. What I've got is I went ahead and prepared a whole breakdown of everything it is that I'm going to do to market your property effectively. Then you're going through and kind of flipping through all these different things it is that you're doing to market the property. And with that commission, and I've talked about this before, people will only feel like it's too much if they feel like the price is here and the value is here. If the value is here and the price is here, they're going to be like, oh my God, that's the greatest deal ever if you've got all this value. But, you know, maybe the price was the same. Maybe the price is right here, but if the value's here, they're like, oh no, that's not worth it. But when the value's up here, they're like, wow, what a deal. You should always be the cheapest in your industry, and not cheapest by lowest commission rate. No, your commission should be wherever it is you want it to be, but you should seem like you're the cheapest by offering more value. So even if you're charging a higher rate than the other agents in your area are offering them for the listing on their property, you should still seem like you're the best deal because you have so much value it is behind it. So just like you want to be sold on yourself, you've got to have this stuff prepared ahead of time. Okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. This is what I'm going to do to get your property market it online. This is what I'm going to do to market your property in this area, and this is what we're going to do here, and this is if somebody calls in, how we're going to handle this, and this is how we're going to handle the showings, and this is going to how we're handle the photos. And when they see that you know what you're talking about and that you're the expert on this, and that's why I like this kind of whole education angle of this here, when you're educating them on what this process looks like and what it is that you're going to do, they start seeing all that and they're like, wow, you really do know what you're doing. Okay, all right, well, let's get this underway. And sometimes they're going to close themselves at that point. And when they do, when they're ready, you're done. You're done selling. You don't need to sell anymore. Yeah, and you don't want to, like, just shut down all of a sudden. You're just quiet and you're like, well, why are you not talking anymore? You were talking so much earlier. No, you don't want to do that. So you still want to be in there and be confident about it. But remember, you're not in sales mode anymore. You don't have to keep selling after they're already sold. Once they're sold and they're ready to sign and they're ready to do the deal, you don't have to oversell. And that's what really ultimately makes the selling process a lot easier, is finding out, okay, that they're sold. I don't need to keep selling. You're done. Your job's over with. And sometimes it'll feel like it were too easy. And it does definitely feel like it's too easy when you're confident in your offering and you know what you're doing is going to offer value to them. So that's all I've got for you guys today on this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I know we've got some great tips that you guys should be able to implement in your business right there this weekend. The next listing appointment you guys have, the next buyer it is that you're going to work with, make sure you implement these tips, because this is ultimately going to bring down that time it takes for you to work with them. There's a lot we could talk about to kind of make the sales process easier, but the big thing also, if you're a new agent and you're worried about getting the property sold and whether or not you could really do it, you want to know that you could do it. Again, get sold on yourself before you try to sell others on yourself, because if you're not sold on yourself, no one else is going to be sold on you. Or they maybe still can be, but it's going to be very difficult to sell them if you're not first sold on yourself. When you're confident and you're sold on yourself, everything else becomes that much easier. So that's all I've got for you guys this week. Make sure you tune in next Friday for State of Real Estate, and also on Wednesdays for Ask the Instructor. We've got 2 live streams that we do every week, Wednesdays and Fridays, 12 noon Eastern time. Go to tampaschool.com/success, drop in your email, and you'll automatically get notified whenever it is that we go live. You can also see all the past episodes and past recordings of Ask the Instructor. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you next week. Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chris with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can.
Did you know that if post-licensing education isn't completed by your first renewal, your real estate license will become null and void? If your license becomes null and void, you must restart the licensing process all over again. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we make renewal requirements easy. Visit postflorida.com to learn more and enroll today. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have done for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.